AAC.com.
All right, welcome back. This is session 3 of our AAC intro webinar, and now it is the question and answer session. And so I guess the first question that a lot of our families have, it's posted all the time, is how we have a kiddo that people have told us are ready for AAC. And they may be signing, or they may just be using speech therapy. How do we get started? Like, what is as a parent, who do we reach out to? What is the first step?
Well, you know, there's going to be lots of different opinions on what would be the best thing. And the speech pathology field is highly controversial. Sometimes there are very diverse opinions on what's going to be the best thing. So usually if I'm at this center, they use this approach more, or this one I use another. So it's not a science like you wish it was. That's the honest answer. So what I would do as a parent is I would research several things. I would reach out to that Frankie Roman company and have their consultant come out. I might have the Toby Dynavox person come out, which is another company that would have a slightly varying philosophy. I would probably join some Facebook groups, but then I think the main thing is just try some things, really understand it, what makes those things different. There are some universal things I think that all people should agree on. You know, the simple one was words, not phrases, or where you want core and fringe words. There'd be certain things that would tell me, no, I'm not. You know, there are certain things where you just, as a parent, you probably should just, if someone wants to put you on too simple of a system, like a single button that you touch and then they change the phrase all the time, that's really a sensory integration nightmare to have one button changing. But it's not, I guess it's kind of wrong for me to push you too hard, because I developed something, so I want you to use the LAMP method, and I believe in it.
Yes.
I don't want to be that guy, but that's who I am. So.
So we have had in the past, like the Easter Seals people come out and talk to us about AAC, things like that. So would a good first step as far as trying different programs be through a system like that?
In every state has a different programs. There's loaning libraries in states, and there's universities that sometimes have a, so if you got on your websites and you typed in something like what state you're in and who does that educating, but just being honest as I can be, because that's the only way I know how to do it, is the bias is still there.
Yeah.
So you're going to go to a place and they're going to say PECS is the only thing to do. And if you can't get to stage 4 PECS, you shouldn't use an AAC device. So that's not research-based, but they're going to tell you that. So then you're going to come to me, you're going to hear me say you have to have many icons at one time. You have to have many words. Someone else says that's too many, he's too confused. You know, so you're going to have to try and educate yourself and try to, it's a lot to ask you to do, but there's no cookbook out there, and nobody knows your kid. So nobody has a size 9 Jimmy, and this is the perfect fit for them.
That makes sense.
So.
Well, how would you know in looking at a kid or that they are ready for an AAC actual device, as opposed to like when is too young, or what?
I know on the American Speech and Hearing Association, I think I saw the position statement on there that said 12 months of age was considered to be appropriate. You know, wow. So you're never too. There's two things: you're never too young, you're never too old, and you're never too low functioning. If anybody says any of those 3 things, your kid's going to do well. Because in my 30 years of doing this, there's something about a mother or a father being told their kid can't do something that just makes them find a way to make it happen. And so if you're a parent and someone tells you Jimmy's too low functioning, he's not able to understand abstract symbols, or he doesn't understand symbols, or he doesn't want to communicate, or he's not initiating, or he doesn't have interest, any of those words you're hearing like that, I've heard them a million times in 30 years. And we all learn through our sensory systems. And we all want to communicate, and we all have the ability to learn. It might take some of us longer, and maybe it took me 2 or 3 years to learn one location said eat and one location said mommy. But once I learned that location said eat and that location said mommy, don't shuffle the deck and make me relearn. So, and when we add auditory output, one other thing to make sure you understand is that communication devices that have voice output are easier than those that don't. So if I touch a device and I hear the word eat, so if I take a button and I touch it and it says eat, that's easier than touching a picture that doesn't talk when I touch it. So a communication device is actually the easier of the methods. And leaving the motor puns the same makes it easier again. So we can't wait for kids to jump a hurdle this high before we give them one that's down here.
Yep.
And try not to, I don't want any guilt on any parent, but try not to let people squander your language learning years. When your first few years of life and the younger you are, the more plastic you have for learning. But if they take those years and they keep working on prerequisite skills without enough words, remember that study that said language explosion happens when you have many words at one time, and you have both core and fringe words and words that take longer to learn. So they're waiting for you to learn these 10 words, and if you learn these 10, we'll give you the next 10. That's not how it's going to work. You got to throw a lot of words at them. Some stick, some don't stick. They attach their own meaning to them. They're basically babbling with those words. You wanted a trick that would work, that would help a lot of your kids. Put them on a system that's inappropriately hard, gives them core and fringe words, and respond to every mishit as if it was meaningful for 2 or 3 years. So you believe every time they hit a button, they meant to say it. You react as if they did, and you'll see what happens. The same kid who wasn't ready to communicate needs he needs to start saying, well, communication is like a slot machine. I don't get something every time I say something or do something, but when I do it enough, good things happen randomly enough for me to want to keep doing it. And the more I play, the better my life gets with it. So.
Well, and that's actually really hitting on one of the next questions. And you actually talked a little bit about ways of increasing our kids' interest in utilizing the device, the games and fun. I'm so excited to try that with my daughter, just because it makes sense. And the more fun you can make it, the more interested they'll be. Do you have any other little tips or tricks as far as my kids just absolutely not wanting to use the device at all or resisting? How can I get her to want to try?
Yeah, that's a tough one, but most kids really do, if you just follow their lead, will and make it as fun as you possibly can. And so the other thing is don't ever forget that sessions can be extremely short. Only 2 touches and they got their favorite M&M. So they got M&M, and then stop while they're having fun. So very intermittent, really short sessions that are really fun. And one little trick to this too, I want to make sure, when I was talking about multisensory convergent neurons, that motor, auditory, visual, the reinforcer has to be really quick, or they won't, after the multisensory convergent neurons firing, they won't learn it. So if I'm teaching you the word eat, the one thing I see a lot of people do wrong when they say the kid's not wanting to learn their device is when they do the motor movement to say go. Let's say they love jumping, or they love swinging, they love some sensory activity, or they love to be bounced. So when they do the motor movement and the motor movement goes up, the auditory comes out to go, the jump has to be immediate. So try a lot of sensory activities where they're swinging and jumping and where you're doing fun activities, and maybe they like music, or maybe they like a vibrating toy, or maybe, it's hard to always know what each kid's gonna like, but just play, and try to find what they like, and then keep the session really short. And make sure you time the sensory integration, the motor, the auditory, the visual. The reward has to be quick. And then the last little trick is to videotape it so they get to see it again, because
Yes,
that's part of the problem.
That's a great actual advice there for that too. So, and I guess it comes back to, if a kiddo is finding it easier to sign more as opposed to hitting more on their device or talker, how do we keep bringing them back to continuing to try using the device? Or is it better just to, if any mode of communication
you don't care.
Okay.
You love sign language and you love a device, but you're casting back using the other forms. So if they say more, sometimes you're saying more, you said more with you said more. Other times you're touching the device saying, oh, you said more. And what you'll find is that when they do this, and then you say, you said more, and then you grab the device, and you say, you just told me more. You just told me more. Is that there's no pressure while you're getting it, they reach up and they touch it. And there's something magic about hearing it. Mm-hmm. So I think they're going to, if they can say it in a more efficient way, and that is the hardest part about you parents, because you communicate with them so efficiently. But not to be snarky again, but not a lot of people know what this means. So they don't live in a deaf community. Mm-hmm. And I have to prepare them to be in a bigger community than always have mom or dad or aunt or uncle or a caregiver right next to them. And so I know that's not me being snarky because I love sign language, but it doesn't have any auditory output. So you're missing a sensory system. You have motor, you don't have any auditory, and the visual is still there. You talk for me when I do this, but now I can't tell when you're talking to me or for me. And so a device is like sign language because the motor movement doesn't change. Think of this as a sign, just like this is a different sign than this. So this is a sign, all I do is attach a sound to it. So if I could do this, my feeling is I could do this. If I could do this and get the auditory output, then I could add more words and not change. And people can understand what I'm saying that don't know sign language.
That is, that's perfect too. And so in increasing our listeners, like the people our kids can communicate with, as you mentioned, not everyone understands signing. A lot of our children are school-aged kiddos and are working in a school environment where one of the problems that we ran into is that a lot of our teachers didn't really know how to help go back and forth with our daughter as she was learning to use the device. So do you have webinars and training for teachers that maybe we could share a link, or how can we help our educators?
Well, if you go to AACandautism.com, there's a spot that says find a training. And then there's support, and there's both webinars online, there's recorded ones, and there's also trainings all over. And one thing nice, we always charge half price for parents to come to a live training. Myself and eight other therapists do the trainings. All the trainings were trained by my wife and I and selected by us. So we've known them for years. These are really colleagues we respect and love in the field. And any parent ever contacts us ahead of time and says, I'd like to go, but paying that $50 or $80, whatever, it's going to go hard for me, we'd always let you in for free. Any parent, anyone really, but we don't really think most speech therapists need that. They get asked to see use, but it's really, I hate that we charge parents at all. But anyway, there's nothing better than a live training that goes on. It's a 2-day training. So what you and I tried to discuss in 30 minutes or 45 minutes is really a 10-hour training.
Wow.
So, and they're all over the country, and there's schedules. You can go on there and see. And one more thing, if there's not one in your area, then you can work with your local school and request one. And there's no fee. The host site doesn't pay for us to come in and train, because all the other people are coming in are paying to be there. So that's what allows us to not charge a family or a site to have a training.
Gotcha. Well, that makes good sense too. I guess one or two more questions. One that I've wondered myself too is how do we boost their independence while they're working with the device? For my daughter, she'll look at me to make sure I'm, as she's going towards and she knows what she's doing, but she'll kind of always be looking for my reassurance. Do I just stay stone-faced? What's the best way to help her?
Well, I've seen this a million times, and it's actually a very, very beautiful thing to see. So when a child hovers over the top and then looks at your face, what they're trying to do is make you happy. So she's saying, are you wanting me to say, eat, mommy? So this isn't always guaranteed. This is what I've seen before. And what she's doing is saying, did you tell me to say eat? And then she's looking at you. As soon as you say yes, she hits it to say you said it. So very, very, you have a giving child, and she's kind, and she wants to make you happy. Modeling will be a big one, all this takes years. The video modelings I've already gone to. I keep going back to that same one, but that's what she needs. She needs to see herself communicating at a level above that. So using feed-forward video modeling, you get rid of the prompt, you might even clip 2 videos together, and then you'd also want her to see other friends and peers using a communication device a lot. So maybe even join the Lamp Words for Life users group, and every time someone posts a video, you let her watch it. You might also do a little Skype sessions with her and other kids, and if it was possible to join a users group where the kids do outings or they meet, and make sure when she goes to school, you ask the principal or teacher, whatever your means, in her classroom, do other kids use her same device? If not, is there any way some other kids could learn to use her device with her? So maybe they bring in kids from another classroom for an hour or 2 a day, and they walk around with her, learning her device with her. So they sit next to her. She needs to see her peers using that vocabulary to talk. And one of the ways we've seen the easiest way to make this work and get over the problem you're seeing is when a classroom has 4 or 5 kids using the same system, because then every time one talks, 4 benefit. So, and then add those visual supports too. The PowerPoints, I can email you some of those. Do add some visual supports for literacy activities where they're matching and reading books and doing fun things that way too. And it just takes a lot of time.
I'm so excited to actually check out the different links that you have talked about, and hopefully we can make them so that our parents can get to them pretty easily, because I know they're all going to be very excited about that just as much as I am. And I think we'll call it quits for today, but thank you again from the SATB2 Gene Foundation and also our SATB2 families walking along with us in this journey and just creating such an incredible program that our kids have benefited from. We're very appreciative.
Well, thank you. You SATB2 families are the best. I love the YouTube videos. I love your website. I can tell you're a family and you take care of each other. So that's very sweet.
Awesome.
I hope to work with you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.